I want to ask you something because I saw earlier when you were talking about, you would get nervous just being out when you were a young black male, even though you weren't doing anything wrong. And you were saying that you got two sons and you got daughters, right? And I saw you get a little emotional when talking about that because obviously as a parent, you want to protect them always, but that protection isn't there when they have to go out into the real world and you're not there. You know what I mean? So you got to teach them to move, a certain way. What
And
was it like for you to have that conversation with them?
it's difficult because they're living in a time where the culture is not like how it was when I grew up. When we grew up, we had respect, especially respect for the elders. Um, we made sure that we were always looking over our shoulders whenever we were doing something wrong because we didn't want to disappoint anybody that was, an elder. These kids now, they just disrespect in front of anybody. I talk to some of the teachers sometimes and they're like, yeah, I get cursed at every day. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. You know, um, I try to teach them, again, to have that respect and that integrity. And my younger son, he might be going through a little bit more than my older son just because of the time period right now. He's 16. So he's at the pinnacle of, that testosterone and that puberty, like everything. And then being around a lot of these other social kids, like it's just a lot of freedom that we didn't have, man. And it's scary. Like I worry because it's sometimes not what you're doing. It could be what somebody else is doing and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time
Facts.
and you get caught in a situation. And if you're not thinking quick on your toes, I don't want to lose my kids, man, and have them, incarcerated or God forbid the worst case scenarios. I don't want to even say that out in the air, but
Right.
it's hard to get them to understand sometimes what can and can, like the things that can happen because they don't know until they go through it. And you don't want them to go through something and then learn from a mistake. You know what I'm saying? I want you to learn from the things that I went through and what I've seen, some of the mistakes I made, and some of the times that I actually survived whatever situations. Because, yo, bro, like it's been times that I pulled over two, three times in one day. Cop thinks this, thinks that. I remember one time a cop walked me out of the train station because he thought I was hopping the train. It was just summertime. It was like 100 degrees. And I'm trying to wait on the steps for the train. He sees me from on the platform and thinks, oh, this dude think he gonna hop my train and walk me like 6 avenues on some, you ain't going in there. You're gonna keep walking, keep walking. That's crazy. And this is in the 90s. So you think about it like, I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't hop the train. I was
That's
just sitting on the
insane.
steps. But I'm just saying, there's situations like that where I had to conduct myself, be calm, look at his badge, take his name down in my mind, listen to what he's saying, do what he wants me to do to get to where I need to go so that I don't get myself locked up for nothing. Because I could have got myself locked up for nothing if I was a hothead.
Or
But
worse.
again, or worse. So it's situations like that that I try to keep them in mind with like, listen, conduct yourself at all times with thinking. Think. Don't act off your emotions. Your emotions could get the best of you. Don't act off of that. Think about it. Calm down. Think about what could happen. And it's a learning process for them and for me because I got to keep calm when I'm telling them these things. Because sometimes I want to get emotional just to show, the intensity of what I'm feeling to give you this knowledge. But I got to keep calm and hope that I keep them, right here with me. Hey, man, we in some times, man. And it's crazy because I could be in my car and I could see some young kids, and this happened to me recently, and I'm like, look, I can tell they about to get into something. I can see it, and I get 2 blocks away and I hear shots fired, bang, 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 bang. It's like you could just see because when you've been in and been around that, you know what it looks like.
Hmm.
So you got to be attentive to your surroundings at all times, you know, and that comes with the culture as well.
Right. To build on to what you were saying earlier, though, about you saying that, don't act off emotion and just think. Everybody has an ego. So it's kind of tough sometimes where it's like, if you keep dealing with something, it's like, at this point, do I stand up for what is right? Or do I just try to live and keep seeing another day? Or do I fight the cause because it's unjust? Or like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's always like you got to try to decide what is the best situation there. So, man, I don't know. Like, that's just crazy. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard, man. It's hard because there are times that I feel like, yo, I'm about to pop off. That's it. Who you talking to? What? And it'd be our own people that would do it to us. It's crazy. I've been in a situation where I'm like, wow, it's 80, 90% of another culture around, white people around, right? But here you all popping off at me. And I didn't see you do this to none of these people. So it's almost like you testing me. So now I got to control myself and then think about people I'm around and act accordingly and handle it in a different sense. But this times I'm ready to just smack the shit out of somebody. Like, what? Are you serious right now? What you just said? Really? But again, I've been there and done that as a youth, a young guy, where I made some bad decisions, but I've been, lucky enough that I sustained my freedom and I didn't come in harm's way of like get myself hurt, So those are things that were learning stepping stones for me to become the man I am today and conduct myself in a calmer, more respectful, manner than I probably would when I was high headed and young. And even then, when I was hot and young, I always thought, man, I always watched, I always paid attention. I was always like maneuvering. I never wanted to get caught up in the situation. I always had to think ahead of myself. And I was blessed for having that capability of doing that. So that comes from, like I said, I was raised by a village, man. It wasn't just my mother, my father. I had my whole family, that I was around at different times that taught me how to maneuver. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins. So I learned. And if they made a mistake, my younger cousin, I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. I ain't gonna end up in that situation. I got family that's been locked up for like 30 years.
Mm.
Like, and I always looked at that as something that I had as a lesson to be learned without having to go through the hard times to learn it. I saw it from a distance like, yo, I miss you, bro. I ain't seen you in years, because of the choices that you made. I don't want that to be the case for my family,
Right.
so here we are.
Whew, he took this interview somewhere else, man. We went deep on pause.
Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah,
damn.
apologies. It's
No,
just,
no, no. I like that, man. I really think that we talk about this hip hop stuff and everything, and that's cool. But like at the end of the day, there are a lot of things going on in this world that is really important. You know what I'm saying? So like, I like having these deep conversations for those that are willing to really soak up the jewels, right? Because we all know, like in this era, everybody's going to click on the clickbait stuff and all the dramatized things and everything. But man, like if you're going to watch some of that stuff, at least watch some of this meaningful shit too, bro. That's how I feel, man. Like that's my favorite stuff to talk about. Um,
yeah, I mean, hip hop saved my life, but it was times in hip hop that I almost lost my life.
right, right, yeah,
Being around some real, it's some real dudes that are in the hip hop game. And if you surround yourself by them and you get in situations, you gotta, pick and choose your battles wisely. So, but being in the studio kept me out of the streets. I was in the studio, I was in the box doing my thing, making sure that everybody's sounded right. And, thank God for that, man. having that love for the culture and just being able to be, you know, part of it saved me in a lot of ways. You know, they say if you make it past 26, you're a survivor. So I did some things and I made it.